Welcome to NarrativeNook audio tales where enchanted stories come to life. If you enjoy our stories, please subscribe, like and share to support our channel. Enjoy listening.
Sadly, there's only one of her in this world. Lawrence turned as he breathed an inaudible sigh. Feeling very upset, Jared held Nicole in his arms as he looked toward Lawrence's direction. "Stay away from that man." Nicole looked at him in response. "Can you stop being so jealous for no reason? This is our first meeting with him, and Jared is seeing green already?" she thought. "I don't like the way he looks at you." Jared replied, knowing that gaze far too well. Lawrence was concealing his desire to have Nicole to himself. Besides, to see through Lawrence's intentions was no easy feat. "Well, we'll leave right after he has located the Braves for us, and we won't ever have to see him again," she said. Nicole just thought that Jared was simply being paranoid. "Okay. I think he'll give us an answer by tomorrow," he replied. As long as Lawrence wished to collaborate with the Johnston Group and not upset Nicole, he would get everything done to their satisfaction. "Alrighty then. Now that we're done with our meal and our business, let's go." Nicole finished, feeling extremely out of place there. "I knew you wouldn't like it here, so I'm going to take you somewhere," Jared said. Nicole yawned. "Nah, I'm tired already." She was already drained last night, and as she had been on a flight for the entire afternoon, she really felt really exhausted. Upon noticing how knackered Nicole was, Jared instantly felt a pang of guilt for his inability to control himself last night. "Fine, let's rest up tonight." Furthermore, Nicole was pregnant, and therefore, her getting exhausted with such ease was a normal occurrence. After that, Jared quickly left the place with Nicole in tow, whereupon they headed straight to their hotel. When they had arrived at their room, Nicole decided that she would go right to sleep after she had taken her shower. Meanwhile, Jared washed up and was about to bed down on the couch in the living room when Nicole frowned at him. "What are you doing?" she asked. Confused, Jared said, "I'm worried that I won't be able to control myself, so I'm going to sleep outside." Nicole burst out laughing after hearing that. "Is it really necessary? This man used to hold me while we slept without getting into any funny business. Yet, he can't do it now," she asked herself. "Of course. Now, you're just way too tempting for me. So much so that it's excruciating." Indeed, whenever they were in close proximity, he would want to hold her in his arms as he smelled the lovely fragrance in her hair. But as soon as he hugged her, he would start wanting more. Even at that moment, Jared could feel a burning sensation in his lower abdomen. "Forget it. I'm heading out." He just could not bear to think about it anymore. He needed to give Nicole the rest she needed that night. Nicole noted the pitiful look on his face and issued a sigh in resignation. "We're married now. Don't you think it's weird for a normal married couple to sleep separately?" Jared stopped in his tracks and turned toward her. "What's your plan?" He was the CEO of a company, and yet, this entire episode had stumped him. "You have to train yourself." She smiled. "You can't just sleep in another room, can you? You have to get some self-control in." Jared's thirst for her grew the instant he saw her bright smile. "This woman doesn't know how attractive she is, does she? I guess I won't be able to do it for the rest of my life." He frowned. At the very next second, he leaned toward Nicole. There, he changed his mind, deciding not to sleep in the living room anymore. Nicole smiled when she saw him leaning over. Right away, she pulled him by the arm to the bed and reached under her pillow. Then, she whipped a pair of handcuffs out. "You." Jared felt something cold on his wrist. "What are you doing?" "Giving you a hand in the art of self-control." Nicole smiled devilishly. "These are the handcuffs that I always carry with me wherever I go. It's been some time since I used it, and it just so happens that it will come in handy for your training." Then, she looped the handcuffs around the bed frame and cuffed both of Jared's hands before pulling a blanket over him. "Hey Nicole, don't you think this is too much? How could this woman think of such a way to keep me under control? This is torture. This is nothing compared to the beast in you that I've had to deal with every night." Nicole then yawned and laid next to him, slowly caressing his chest with the hand. Still able to feel her touch through his pajamas, Jared clenched his jaw as his heart burned with desire. "You won't let me touch you, and yet you're touching me?" Jared protested, unable to hold it in anymore. Nicole chuckled. "Of course. You're my pillow tonight. Good night." Then, she tucked the both of them in and switched the lights off. "Nicole." Jared felt her face leaning toward him as the scent of her hair filled his lungs. His body tensed up at once. "Go to sleep." Nicole forced his eyes shut, not wanting to talk anymore. Jared could only let her do this to him as he fought his desires. That night, Nicole slept soundly while it was a battle for Jared. His body would kindle with lust whenever Nicole moved, but his arms, which were still cuffed above his head, would start to grow numb and sore, reminding him not to act on his desires. "You're a demon." It was a long, stressful night, but Jared finally fell asleep after hours of torture. On the next day, the sun pierced through the drapes, which were swaying gently by the window, painting a beautiful and serene picture. Nicole stretched lazily as she sat up. She wanted to see how Jared was holding up. However, as soon as she did, Jared was up, staring right at her. "You're up." He smiled at Nicole with dark circles under his eyes. "Did you stay up all night?" Why didn't he sleep? She wondered. Jared scoffed. "There's a cheeky little devil who kept teasing me the entire night. If you were in my position, would you be able to sleep?" Nicole felt a surge of embarrassment for a second. "No, I didn't." "Yes, you did." He was suffering as he held himself back, so he only slept for a good 2 hours, but was jolted awake as soon as Nicole started moving around in the morning. "Your training is useless. Uncuff me right now." He threatened Nicole through gritted teeth as he was already on the verge of erupting. Being cuffed like that was killing his arms, and he was done with it. Nicole quickly released him when she saw it. With his arms now freed, Jared immediately flipped over and pinned her down as he kissed her all over. "I'm going to teach you a lesson for making me suffer for no good reason." He then kissed her neck hard. "No." Nicole protested, feeling a little too shy. "We still have people to meet today." "It's too late. You need to be punished for your mistakes," Jared said as he kissed her harder. Almost immediately, 2 hickeys appeared on Nicole's neck. Jared saw his work of art on her neck, and that was when he became satisfied, so he let her go. Nicole was furious. "Jerk." She did not fight back because she did not want to put any strain on her abdomen, but Jared still left her with 2 hickeys nonetheless. "If you come up with crazy ideas like this again, I won't go easy on you." Jared then quickly got down from the bed. Above anything, he was worried that he would act on his impulses again. Nicole noticed something as she watched Jared strutting off to take a shower. How is this man so energetic? She sighed and went off to freshen up as well. Then, the both of them shared breakfast together in front of a floor-to-ceiling window. While they were thinking about when they would receive updates from Lawrence, Jared's phone rang. "Mr. Johnston, I've sent you what you've asked for. Check your phone." Delighted to hear that, Jared said, "Okay, thanks." Lawrence nodded. "My pleasure. But you don't have much time. They seem to be rather cautious around my people. Starting from now, you only have 5 hours to retrieve what's yours." Jared's expression darkened as he looked at his watch. "That's good enough." Lawrence was not surprised to see how assured Jared was. He knew that Jared was a figure of great power and significance. He was also close to being the richest man on earth. Above all, Jared was not afraid of shady businesses like this. How powerful is he? Lawrence wondered. "I have one more request." Jared continued with a frown. "For these 5 hours, no one in Romania can get in my way. Judging by the influence you have in these parts, you should be able to do it for me, shouldn't you, Lawrence?" Lawrence did not expect Jared to come off so strong. His expression changed. Though it was not an easy task, he still agreed to help Jared nonetheless. "Sure." He took a deep breath. "I can also protect you and Mrs. Johnston. My men are probably on the way to pick you up. They'll take you there themselves." Jared frowned as he did not expect Lawrence to send his men out to help them. He totally did not see this coming. However, he was rather uncomfortable with the notion of Lawrence being so proactive. Still, he smiled and said, "Thanks." With all things said, Jared was in someone else's country. Though he had already enlisted Janice to bring some men over, it was always better to have more allies. "No worries. Take care." Lawrence hung up, not continuing the conversation anymore. Jared looked at his phone, his eyes stern and serious, after their call had ended. Seeing that, Nicole asked, "What happened?" "Lawrence found their exact coordinates," he replied. Jared's men had managed to track the people who stole the AI system down, but their findings only led them to the suburbs outside of the capital. Thus, Lawrence was still needed to provide them the exact coordinates of the location. "He has even sent his men over to work with us," Jared added with a look of worry on his face. Nicole was confused when she heard that too. "We're not close friends of his. Even if he's doing this for his own gain, providing us with the coordinates is good enough already. Why send his crew over to help us?" This was crazy. Jared took a deep breath in. "Well, it's already happening, so let's just wait and see." Nicole nodded. "Okay." Then, Jared's doorbell rang after some time. He opened the door to see Janice's men standing before him. "Mr. Johnston, our special forces are here." Nicole had met Janice before, so she knew that he was Jared's right-hand man. But she was not aware that Jared had a unit of special force soldiers serving him. "Okay. Lawrence's men will come over to join us too. We'll leave after that." "Sure." Janice nodded and left. Nicole looked at Jared. "I didn't know you had troops. Who exactly is Janice?" Nicole had never asked him about this before, but since she did, Jared decided not to hide it from her. "He's my mercenary." Nicole frowned as she did not expect Jared to have a mercenary in his payroll. Jared noticed her confusion, so he calmly explained, "It's difficult to work abroad. Before I had Janice, goods belonging to the Johnston Group and J.J. Johnston were always getting stolen in shady areas. We had no other choice but to hire my distant cousin to be our mercenary." Hearing that, Nicole finally understood perfectly what was going on. The J.J. Johnston Group was involved in many industries, so it was not surprising that their goods had been illegally targeted by certain entities. To ensure the safety of the goods and staff in international waters, some countries would form their band of troops, business associations, and mercenaries. "I see." Johnston was a rare last name, so Janice definitely belonged to Jared's father's side of the family. "Good." Jared smiled as he looked at her. Soon after, Janice called. "Mr. Johnston, they're here. We can leave now." "Sure." Jared ended the call and looked at Nicole, starting to get worried. "You should stay out of this." There was a chance that a fierce war would be ignited in order for them to retrieve the Braves. Nicole looked at him. "I won't stop worrying, not until I get to see the Braves being taken back with my own eyes. I must go." Jared noted the persistence in her gaze and knew that she would follow him even if he did not bring her along. "Okay, but you need to stick with me. Got it?" he asked. He would do his utmost to Nicole, even if it meant losing his life. "Yeah, I know what my current situation is. I'll just have a look. I don't want accidents to happen," she said. Jared understood her concern. "Sure. Let's go." Then, the duo made their way downstairs, where a bulletproof jeep was parked, waiting for them. Janice looked around vigilantly when he saw them coming down. He opened the door for them once they were near and helped them into the car. When they left, Nicole saw more than 10 black cars following them from behind. Janice noted what she was looking at and explained, 10 of the cars belong to us, the other 7 belong to Lawrence. Jared smirked. "I didn't expect Lawrence to send so many of his men over." He thought Lawrence was just being courteous, so he was not expecting this many people. This is a pleasant surprise. A smile grew across Janice's handsome face. However, Jared proceeded to say, "But we must still trust our men." "Of course. Don't worry, Mr. Johnston." Janice nodded as he knew what Jared was worried about. This mission had to be executed with utmost care. There was a car leading the way in front of their jeep, taking them to the outskirts of the capital. Then, they continued to head north. After 3 hours, they arrived at a canyon area. "There's no signal here, Mr. Johnston." Janice immediately looked around when they arrived. Jared nodded and turned to Nicole. "Stay in the car. I'm going to have a look." Nicole looked at him, worried. "Take care, please." "Sure." Jared got down from the car, and there, he realized that they were at a high ground, and there was a canyon not far up ahead. At that moment, someone got down from the car that was leading them and approached Jared upon seeing him. "Mr. Johnston, this is the location. The canyon is the entrance," the guide explained to Jared in Esperian. Jared followed his gaze and set his own at the canyon. "It really looks like something is there. What a hidden location." This was why his people could not find what they were looking for. This area was out of the range of any coverage. Without the guide, it was impossible for them to find it. "Okay, got it." Jared ended the conversation and turned to Janice. "Get ready to enter. If we find out the exact whereabouts of the Braves, there will be fewer casualties." "Copied." Janice nodded and brought his men along to inspect the area, looking for ways to enter. Nicole saw Janice's men leaving and got down from the car when it looked safe. Jared frowned when he saw her. "Why are you out here?" In response, she said, "It looks safe here. Don't worry." Jared sighed the moment he heard her reply, but he remained silent otherwise. Then, Janice and 2 of his teams slowly entered the canyon after inspecting the surroundings. Lawrence's men were leading the way, and they seemed to be very familiar with this area. Noticing that, Nicole commented, "Seems like Lawrence and the mastermind of this whole operation know each other. In fact, they might even have been here before." Nicole's expression darkened. "Would they sell us out?" Upon hearing that, Jared flatly said, "No." Lawrence had already given them the coordinates, so it was clear that he did not care about the mastermind anymore. "No matter what, I will get the Braves for you today. Just wait for me in the car, okay?" Jared promised. Nicole nodded, but it was then that she realized something. "Are you going too?" Jared replied, "There's no signal here, so we can only communicate on the walkie-talkie. We're too far from Janice now." This was a dangerous mission that might require a deployment at any time, so Jared must be close by. Knowing what his intentions were, she said, "Okay, you take care." "Yeah. Just wait for me here. If something happens, just leave." "Got it." Jared ordered sternly. Nicole hesitated upon hearing those words. How could she just up and leave when he was in trouble? Still, she half-heartedly agreed. "Okay." Jared felt relieved as soon as she had agreed to his terms and proceeded to leave with the last squad. Nicole watched as he strode off with the team. She was touched when she remembered that he had left 15 people behind just to protect her. However, she could not take the risk as she was carrying a life within her. All she could do was watch as Jared sneaked into the base, praying for his safety, and praying that he would come back in one piece. Meanwhile, Jared had already entered the base, but he did not anticipate the sight of such a vast space in the canyon, an area so large that it could house an entire base. Furthermore, there were fortresses, elevations, and drone surveillance in the area. However, each and every one of them were professional mercenaries. Hiding from surveillance cameras, drones, and lasers were their most basic skills. Jared held the gun, finding a concealed area to hide in. Then, he spoke to Janice on the walkie-talkie. "Mr. Johnston, the Braves are under tight security. There are 3 areas in this base: the center, which looks more like a command post; the entrance, where Lawrence's men had already wiped the bodyguards out and swapped them with our men beautifully; and lastly, there's an underground passage just below the rear end of the canyon." Jared furrowed his brows. Send someone over to check it out. Though they might alert the enemies, that was the most suspicious area in the entire base. Okay. Janice then ordered his men to enter that area. Soon, the sound of hand-to-hand combat could be heard, but Janice's men still prevailed, successfully entering the passageway thereafter. Meanwhile, Jared was standing outside, waiting for updates. After 20 minutes, Janice reported, Mr. Johnston, it's in here." Jared's eyes lit up. "Look at the chips and see if they've been removed before." "On it." Janice proceeded to do so and responded after a while. "Not for now. But 5 of them are missing, and their whereabouts are unclear." With that said, Jared figured that the mastermind had obtained the new system and was perhaps experimenting on it. According to Nicole, if you activate the droids, they will return to their manufacturer. These robots were not produced yet, so the system that had been implanted in them served as a failsafe that would make them return to their manufacturing location as soon as they were activated. "Got it." Janice nodded and signaled his men to switch the robots on. Then, Jared ordered, "When the robots leave and all hell breaks loose, just take the chance to flee with them." If they succeeded, most of them would be able to make it out of here unscathed. Janice nodded. After over 10 minutes, rumbling noises emanated from the passageway. Jared could hear the robots' footfalls against the ground, which assured him that the Braves had been activated. "Everyone watch out. When the robots come out, we'll need to protect Janice and make our escape." "Roger that." On the other hand, at the command post, a man was watching as all of the scientific researchers conducted a system rewrite on 5 of the Braves. They were already 60% there when someone barged in and yelled, "Chief, bad news." The man's expression grew cold. The man next to him immediately ran over and grabbed the lackey by his collar. "What are you yapping about? Don't you know that this is a critical moment?" "But the Braves." Upon hearing about the Braves, the chief spoke. "Let him go, Era. Let him speak." Era, the strong man, then released the subordinate of his. Then, the subordinate immediately fell to his knees. "Chief, the Braves that were hidden in the warehouse. Someone activated them and they're now leaving the passageway." "What?" Era was shocked to his core. Bara, who was standing next to the chief, said, "Chief, we'll check and see what's wrong." The look on the chief's face was ugly, but the process of rewriting the code of the 5 Braves was extremely important, and thus he could not leave. "Go. None of the robots shall leave the place." Things had progressed to this point, and he was about to deliver the robots, so he could absolutely not afford any trouble at this critical moment. "Yes, Chief." Era and Bara, the most significant henchmen of his, said in unison before leaving in a hurry. The chief looked at them and thought, "Kara was slain in Lanningborg. These 2 are my most trusted subordinates now. They can't get themselves into trouble. Who had the temerity to sneak into the base and activate the Braves? Whatever. They're digging their own graves." The command center was already under tight security, and all of the armed militants had rushed out. When they saw the braces emerging from underground, they were in disbelief and had no idea how to respond. The Braves seemed to be inspecting the base as well. At that moment, most of the Braves stated in unison, "Anti-theft mode activated. Returning to production site." Those words left everybody perplexed. These robots were returning to their place of origin. "Don't move or we'll shoot." The henchmen stood in front of the robots to stop them from leaving, as they knew how important they were to their boss. However, one of the Braves stepped forward and broke the henchman's gun into 2 pieces. "Firearm detected. Initiate emergency response system if safety is compromised to neutralize the threat." As soon as the Brave had uttered those words, its eyes instantly emitted a ray of red light as if it had activated combat mode. It was then that Era and Bara arrived on the scene, and were shocked by what they had seen. They could not believe that the Brave had activated combat mode. "What should we do?" Bara looked at Era in shock. Era gritted his teeth and said, "Do you know how important these robots are to the chief? We can't let them leave." After saying that, Era turned to his men and ordered, "The switch is behind their necks. Turn them off." Once the henchmen heard what Era had said, they rushed toward the Braves. "On it." Jared was not expecting these people to actually attempt to stop the robots. He watched the henchmen running in the Braves' direction. Even though the robots had activated combat mode, they were not equipped with any offensive weapons. In no time, the henchmen had surrounded around 2 to 3 Braves, whereupon they shut them down. Seeing that, Jared instantly said, "Everybody, Make sure that the Braves are able to leave this place in one piece. Prepare to attack." "Yes, sir." Janice and the others replied, ready to ambush them in the secret passage. Jared saw that the brave robots could not get past them, and that was when he yelled, "Attack!" Janice and his men rushed outside at once, while Jared and Lawrence's men emerged from their hiding spots to surround their enemies from 3 separate directions. Era and Bara were shocked to see so many people appearing at once. Their base was so well hidden, and they just could not figure out how so many people had managed to sneak into the area without their knowledge. Era was already seeing red. "It has got to be these people. Kill them all." The crowd responded angrily. Some of the henchmen went on to deal with the Braves, while the others proceeded to deal with their invaders. There were about 300 people defending the base. However, there were less than 100 people in Jared's entourage. Their enemies even had weapons and ammunition, and because of that, Jared's team just could not gain an advantage over them. Meanwhile, Nicole had already heard the gunshots from outside. She and Jared made some plans when they were having breakfast earlier, and she figured that a shootout would only occur after the Braves had been activated. So, she tapped on her watch in an instant. Then, she opened a file in her electronic watch and sent it out. All of a sudden, the Braves in the base received some sort of signal. "Protect the invaders and activate weapon mode." All of the Braves uttered in unison. Then, their hands and legs transformed into saw blades, the sight of which left the henchmen in shock and terror. They did not know that the Braves had hidden weapons on them. They saw blades on the Braves began spinning before the henchmen could realize what was happening. The Braves then turned themselves into spinning blades and proceeded to whirl around like cyclones. "Ah! It cut my arm in 2. The henchmen began shouting. Some of them who had climbed on top of the Braves were left severely injured by the spinning blades. Some of their arms had been cut off, and some of their legs had been slashed in half. The sound of them wailing echoed across the whole base. Era and Bara were shocked when they saw the weapons on the Braves. They ceased worrying about the robots at once as they were desperate to save their men. "Open fire! Open fire!" At that moment, as the enemies were focusing on attacking the robots, Jared gave an order. "Janice, bring your men in and reboot the robots that had been switched off. Take cover behind the robots and get out of here with them." "Got it." Janice immediately hid between the robots as soon as he had received the order. The Braves received Nicole's signal and shifted their priorities to protecting the invaders. With that directive in their system, they bolted for the main entrance of the base. The chief in the command post had also heard the noise outside. He stood by the window, and that was when he found that the Braves were killing his men as they were making their way out. They had marched past the command post and were rushing toward the main entrance. And to top it all off, there was also a team of mercenaries taking cover in the middle of the robots. The chief's gaze suddenly darkened. "Damn it! I didn't know these robots had hidden weapons." After hearing what he had said, the man who was working on the robots paused and hesitated. "I'll check for it." The man was wearing a half mask, and he had a voice-altering device beside his mouth. The chief glared at him, and with a dark, ugly look on his face, he said, "Professor, how long will it take for the new system to go online?" His men were sacrificing their lives fighting against robots that were invulnerable to conventional firearms, and yet, he could not use the tanks to destroy them. Thus, he could only put his hopes in those 5 remaining units. The man who was referred to as a professor by the chief looked at the progress bar. 3 more minutes. Tell them to hang in there." The bar was already 90% full. He did not anticipate that he had to decrypt its internal system after stealing it. Otherwise, he would not have flown all the way here from abroad. "Have you found out who's attacking your base?" The professor asked with a dark expression as he went to search for the Braves' weapons. The chief looked at the man who was leading the mercenaries. Even though he did not look familiar to him, that person was known across the globe, and that was when he recognized him in just a glance. "Janice, he's from the Johnston Group." The look on the chief's face turned into a murderous grimace. "I can't believe it. The Johnston Group just won't stop ruining our plans." The professor could not help but shiver, and his hand shook when he heard the name, Johnston Group, being uttered. Indeed, he was caught off guard. He was not expecting the Johnston group to be there at all. However, he knew that there was no turning back now. He had already found the hidden weapons in the Braves. I'm going to activate their weapon mode and let them fight. He rewrote the program and commanded its artificial intelligence system to operate in stationless mode as he spoke. Then, he confidently said, somebody has improvised the system. It's going to make these robots a lot smarter than the ones out there. They can probably stop them from leaving. The chief mustered a wicked smirk after hearing that. Well, thank you so much then, Professor. He had enlisted the professor to take care of the Brave system. However, the latter had been behaving very mysteriously and thus, the chief did not really trust him. However, the chief could not deny that he was actually really capable. The 5 robots' programs had been completely rewritten by the time the professor had entered the weapon command. Suddenly, the robots were turned on, their eyes glowing with an eerie red hue. The chief was thrilled as an excited look appeared on his face. Not bad. It's finally done. The professor nodded and gave an order. Protect our members in black uniforms and stop the other Brave units from leaving. As for the others, execute them without mercy. The lights in the robots' eyes flickered and they responded, orders received. Then, they started moving and jumped right out of the window behind the chief. Shattered glass flew everywhere at that instant, with the chief's subordinates immediately shielding him from the glass. However, the chief was very excited. Haha. Good. This is fantastic. I'm curious to see how intelligent they can be. Meanwhile, there was a chaotic battle going on outside the command center. Jared was waiting for Janice at the entrance. He thought Janice and the robots would arrive at the entrance and his mission would be over soon. However, it was then that he noticed 5 robots plummeting down from the sky before rushing toward Janice and his men. Take cover. Janice ordered upon noticing it. His men immediately hid under the robots. However, as soon as the 5 robots landed, they began behaving as though they knew where Janice's men were hiding. The robots dragged them out and threw them violently on the ground. Ah! Pooh! Janice watched as his screaming men were hurled onto walls and cars. Blood came spurting out of their mouths and they were all soon rendered immobile. This left Janice stunned. Mr. Johnston. These 5 units seem to be more intelligent than the other robots. Jared frowned and noticed that the 5 robots had likely been reprogrammed by his enemies. Nicole had previously rewritten the program as an improvise on the old system, and they were much more advanced than the very first version of Braves. Damn it! Jared did not have time to think, but he knew that they had to do something, or they would all die. Left with no choice, he said, "Everybody, back Janice and his men up." Then, he ignored his own safety and rushed into the fray with his team. The moment Lawrence's men heard his orders, they hurried into the scene as well. However, they had no idea on how to deal with the robots. Not only were the 5 robots tossing the invaders out, they were also battling the other robots while attempting to switch them off. Clearly, the masterminds behind this entire operation still did not wish to destroy the robots. However, everybody in the Johnston group had become sitting ducks at this juncture. Jared could not bear to sit as his men were picked off one by one like that, so he rushed right into the battlefield. At the same time, Nicole began to feel somewhat uncomfortable. She instinctively made a beeline for the valley's entrance, trying to get nearer to it, but soon, someone stood in front of her, blocking her. "Miss Nicole, Mr. Johnston has given us the order to stop you from getting near the entrance." In response, Nicole argued, "Didn't you hear them shouting? What if they're in trouble?" The man who stood in her way became hesitant. "I'm not going alone. Let's go in there and help them together," she yelled. Then, Nicole walked past him and made a dash for Jared's direction. "Ms. Nicole." As he could not stop Nicole, the man had no choice but to bring his men along to see what was happening. Nicole then bent down and quickly ran to the base's entrance. The defenses at the entrance had already collapsed by then, and there were no guards. However, there was unbridled chaos inside. Nicole put her own safety aside and stood at a high elevation to watch what was happening inside. To her surprise, she saw 5 robots slaying people from the Johnston group in the middle of the Braves, and several of them were slaughtered in just a moment. Then, she saw Jared and his team rushing over to save them. However, there were still other terrorists in the base surrounding them from the outer perimeter. They were being attacked in all directions. Damn it! It was obvious that the 5 robots had been reprogrammed, and the new program that she had installed did not receive any signals at all. Clearly, the person who had done this had blocked remote access to the robots. This meant that the 5 robots had to be terminated. Nicole switched her electronic watch on again and activated its optical keyboard. Then, she began typing in the air. The few big men standing beside her were shocked. Even though they had no idea what she was doing, they could tell that it was something very important. Nicole made some modifications, and in no time, she installed a new language into the units that she could still gain control of. Jared was about to be surrounded by the terrorists from the outside when, all of a sudden, the Braves around them paused for 3 seconds before they uttered, as if they were sentient, "There are 5 rogue robots. Destroy them." Every unit under her control then began attacking the 5 reprogrammed robots as soon as they had spoken. Even though those 5 robots had been improvised and upgraded, they were not able to do anything when 2 of the same robots ganged up on them. Those 5 robots were programmed not to harm the other robots, and yet the robots that Nicole had modified did not hesitate to thrust their arms through their bodies and destroy them. With a loud bang, several robots rushed forward and crushed the heads of 2 of the reprogrammed robots and tore them into pieces. Janice and his men were relieved. "Guys, let's get out of here." Jared was not expecting to see that at all. However, it was then that he immediately thought of something. This is not the first time the robots have made an impromptu response. The only person who can alter the robot's command is Nicole, he surmised. He subconsciously turned around as soon as he thought about it. Damn it! Why is she here? He thought. But he could not afford to care about these things at that moment. As he did not want his enemies to discover that there was someone else outside, he shouted, "Retaliate now. Do your best to get as many Braves as you can out of there." "Yes, sir." Jared's men shouted unanimously. They were on a killing spree at that point as they began firing wildly at the terrorists, who were utterly frightened by the robots that had gone berserk again. The chief, who was standing in the command post, became furious after catching sight of it. What's going on? Why did those robots begin tearing ours into pieces all of a sudden? The professor did not see that coming at all as he widened his gaze and watched all that was transpiring before him. This is impossible. These robots should never be able to defeat the reprogrammed units. Unless... He was suddenly rendered speechless. Unless what? The chief angrily asked with a deadpan expression on his face. Unless... somebody's here to modify their program. The professor expressed his assumption in disbelief as he could not believe what was happening at all. Only the person who had invented the robots can modify their programs at will. However, a person like this should never be here. Does that mean that she's here? The professor's face turned pale as he thought about it. I don't care about that. We only have 3 robots left. If we don't do something, we're going to lose all of them. The chief roared. The professor was aware of the importance of those robots to the person who had hired him, and he knew they had to act quickly. The chief's words knocked some sense into him, and he rushed to his computer at once. I can't let these robots leave. Otherwise, that dude isn't going to show any mercy. Not even to me. The professor quickly sat down and attempted to rewrite the program of those 3 robots as he thought about it.
Thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed this story, please like and share so others can see it too. Also hit the subscription button and notification bell so you can be notified on our next release. Thank you for your support. God bless you.